Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have real estate broker and owner of Best School of Real Estate in New Jersey, Bruce Parker. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Hi, and thank you very much for having me today. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to have you. I always like to start off at the top by asking folks how they got into real estate.
So my quick story about how I got into real estate was there was a house that I wanted to buy, and the real estate agent that had listed the house, I really feel cheated me, and I didn't get the house. And I said, I am never going to let somebody take advantage of me again. And I went and took my real estate course to get my real estate license, which doesn't teach you anything about how to do business. Just teaches the rules and regulations. However, I did get really excited by it. And next thing I know is I got my real estate license and did it part-time. And here I am 35 years later doing it full-time.
You know, I went through real estate school in person. It was Champion School in Fort Worth, Texas. And you are the owner of a real estate school. I think these are really great. And everyone that I know that goes, including myself, feels like we have a deep connection. I'm very proud to have gone through the school that I went through. And to your point, Bruce, you know, going through real estate school doesn't teach you anything about being a, profitable realtor, but it will teach you about all the laws that you need to know, but you can't ever really use because you're not an attorney. So here's all the laws, just don't ever use them.
Right.
Now, I'm curious, you know, when you were going through maybe considering being a realtor, you mentioned not having the best experience with a realtor out there. I've actually had a lot of people have a similar story. Hey, I had a lender, didn't like the lender, or I said, hey, I could do what they're doing, or had a realtor said, I could do what they're doing. At that point in time, did you do this part-time? Did you decide I'm going to go do it full-time? What was the process like for you?
So at the time that I had tried to buy this investment property, and I feel that the real estate broker really cheated me, and I still remember his name, which I'm not going to say, and he's retired now also. I was operating a trucking company. I had a trucking company that went all throughout the United States. I had ICC authority to 48 contiguous states. And what I did was I operated with owner-operators who drove their own trucks, and they got paid a percentage of revenue. And then I also worked with guys who drove my trucks. They got paid a different percentage of revenue. And it was all men. I worked all the time with men. And when I started working with real estate, especially when I first started, it was all women. And working with women is much more difficult than working with men. So what happened was one of the presidential administrations deregulated the trucking industry. All of a sudden, trucking wasn't as profitable, and it was very expensive in New Jersey. And I had already gotten my real estate license and gotten a couple of deals under my belt. And so I sold all my trucks, cashed out, and just started doing real estate full time.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So, did you sell the business as well? Was the business in a position where you were able to sell it, or you sold the inventory basically?
So my ICC authority was no longer worth anything because they deregulated and anybody could get ICC authority. And the trucks, some of them were 10 years old, so they sold for whatever the value of the trucks was. And my customers all offshored. They all moved to China. One of them moved to Israel. So my main customer base all disappeared all around the same time, all from things like deregulation.
Now, this is a real estate podcast, but a lot of the guests have businesses, and we talk about scaling businesses. In that vein, the trucking business, is there anything maybe that you could have done differently, or is it just one of these things that's kind of like luck of the draw? We don't control the laws. I mean, maybe some of us do, but is there anything that people can do, maybe if they're looking at a business, to make it so, well, hey, if I need to exit it, I'm in a sellable position versus maybe I have to kind of sell everything?
Systems and procedures to be ironclad and to be exactly duplicatable at any whatever scale you go to. That's the important thing. And I didn't have those in place in the trucking business. It was really running everything by the seat of my pants. And in the real estate brokerage, it's kind of the same thing. It's more difficult to sell a real estate brokerage because the agents could just leave, right? They don't stay. You don't have contracts that make them stay with you.
Right.
But I see things happening in the real estate industry that remind me of what happened in the trucking industry. And the deregulation of the trucking industry is what took all the profits away. Prior to the deregulation, the ICC had a regulation, which is a federal authority, that said every transportation move you made had to have a profit. So we could put our prices very, very high because everything had to have a profit. Once they deregulated, you could do loss leader. You could take a load from New York back to Chicago just to get your truck back to Chicago, and you could do it at a loss. And all of a sudden, the rates came way, way, way down. Now, the same thing's happening in real estate. We're deregulating to an extent. These big downline brokerages, the multi-level platform brokerages, they're not being as well regulated as before they came into existence, and I'm seeing the same thing.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of AI and technology tools enhance the knowledge base of the average person. I mean, outside of here, I'm in a software engineering boot camp, and I paid for the boot camp. I paid for the school about a year ago, and between a year ago and now, basically, software engineering has completely changed.
Yeah.
Because you don't really need, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg. You don't really need software engineers in the same capacity that you needed them before, because you can find all the syntax errors using a computer now. You literally will say, hey, find the syntax errors. It'll find the syntax errors for you. Hey, what do I do with this? It'll make it and modulate the code. And now we're right there where, we're not there yet, but we're right there. We're at the cliff where maybe someone writing these contracts, maybe even paralegals and attorneys, are not going to be as necessary because we have someone or something who's going to be almost as good in some cases.
Yep. But I do believe that the thing that might save us is when people start to realize that all real estate is local. And in the town where my office is in Highland Park, New Jersey, you could be 1 block away in distance and your house be worth 40% less, based on some factors that happen in the town. And it's you can't get that on the computer. So when you have a big algorithm that's pulling out values by looking at what your tax assessment is and applying the equalization ratio to come up with a number of what your market value is, the tax assessments, you can't even make a tax appeal claim unless there's a 15% error. So that means that those numbers are always going to be at least 15% off. And if you look at Zillow on the disclaimer, it says we're plus or minus 15%. And
Yeah.
the reason is that in order to appeal taxes, you got to be plus or minus 15%. So it all kind of matches up together. So local knowledge is going to be more important as we move further down.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
It's huge. You mentioned, I think, one street over or one block over. It's exactly true. I am an investor and I'm a wholesaler in distressed real estate out here in Dallas. And some of these areas, I'm sure you have a lot of them in New Jersey, right? Some of these areas, you'll have a super almost Victorian street, and right next to that Victorian street will be kind of distressed property, maybe even on the same street. I lived in
Exactly.
San Antonio for 5 years before moving up to Dallas. There's an area in San Antonio, the St. Mary's Strip, which is really kind of a nightlife type area. And right along that area, you have heavily distressed tiny homes, maybe homes around 1,000 square feet, maybe even less. And then along the same street, you'll have these enormous, sprawling Victorian homes that are heavily distressed. It looks like pre-1950 on pier and beam foundations that need work. And you're just looking at these things thinking like, this is an amazing opportunity. Why aren't these being snatched up? Well, someone's got to own it.
Yeah.
Bruce, before we hopped on here, you mentioned that you have also been an investor. As someone who's an aspiring investor, and I work with investors, what's been your experience as an investor in New Jersey?
So New Jersey has more regulation than any other state, and we're so anti-landlord in our regulation in New Jersey. Very difficult long term. Flipping in New Jersey, we also have some issues with because each municipality has its own set of laws and certificate of occupancy inspections that are very tough. Vacant property registration, which in some towns is $2,000 a year for a vacant property registration. So all kinds of extra issues in New Jersey, but New Jersey is the number one state for people moving into and then moving out of. People live in New Jersey for the least amount of time of any other state. So the good news is that means there's plenty of activity in New Jersey. There's always stuff popping around and for sale. But we've also got a ton of competition in terms of flippers and people who are buying stuff off-market, wholesalers, etc.
So you mentioned, earlier on in the show here that you're seeing maybe a mirror ring of 2007 to today, right? And I'm curious, does this mean that home prices maybe in the foreseeable future may stall or may go down with a market crash?
So we're seeing prices stalling a little bit now. I've always found that the prices in California and Florida stall 18 months before they do in New Jersey. And part of the reason is it takes so long to foreclose in New Jersey. New Jersey is the second longest amount of time for foreclosing in the country. Delaware's number one, New Jersey's number two. So it takes 5 years to foreclose in New Jersey. In Florida and California, it takes just months to foreclose. So we're offset from their market by about 18 months. So we're seeing Florida all of a sudden have a down market. We're seeing parts of California, including San Francisco, all of a sudden having a down market. So I'm anticipating that within 18 months, we're going to have a down market here in New Jersey.
Now, where's the opportunity in a down market? I'm thinking for people who are looking for distressed properties, you got to buy a lot of properties. But at the same point in time, you got to buy them so deep or at the right price where you have the ability to exit and still make a profit. So what do people do if you're an investor and you're looking at this as an opportunity? How do you underwrite your deals, not knowing what the market's going to stop at?
The good news is the rents will always stay high in New Jersey, and there's always a huge demand for rent. Big waiting list for Section 8 in New Jersey, big waiting list for affordable housing. So the play when you know the market or you think the market is going to go down, is really that you're going to buy a property that's distressed, get it at a discount, do things to improve the value, and hold on to it for a few years until the value starts to recover. Um, and typically values start to recover. Like, we've never had a period of time where it's more than 7 years. So you're gonna do a 7 year play potentially, and that really, it, in hindsight, that really looks good to me. A 7 year play is
Yeah.
a really sweet time. I counted up the other day, by the way. In my career, I've bought and sold 50 houses. And the 50 houses, there's a lot of them that I wished I just hadn't cashed out and taken my profits at that time, sitting here now today. But a lot of the houses I did hold for a long time, and those houses, when I sold them, I did make a lot of money. I just always made sure that the carrying costs were equal to the rent.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Now, this is going to be an interesting time that we're about to walk into, right? So people are going to be looking at the rents. They're going to be realizing that the homes may not appreciate the same way. They may have to hold on to it for a longer period of time. Uh, what's your perspective on single family versus multifamily versus, short-term, mid-term, long-term housing? I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I mean, if you do Airbnb, maybe you have to be prepared that you won't be able to do it in the near future in the city that you're in. But if you had to go to one rental or one option as an investor, which one would you pick?
So for right now, I would do 1 and 2 family homes, and I would do them in neighborhoods that were lower income neighborhoods, so that you always have the availability of Section 8. People sometimes tend to stay away from Section 8, but there's no reason to do that. You get that check in the mail every month. And if your main complaint with Section 8 is that they do an inspection, well, gee whiz, are you going to be a slumlord or are you going to be an investor? So a single family house in an area that has lower income people living in the area, a 3 bedroom house is always the best because that gets you your highest Section 8 rent, and then just hang on to it until the market turns around again.
We're seeing in Texas specifically a lot of investors who will do maybe new builds and flips. Maybe they'll have a few rentals, but just hearing kind of the difficulties that are involved in investing in New Jersey and having lived out there, I don't know how common that is for there to be single family home investors out there in New Jersey. Maybe less common, but I'm curious to get your take on having invested, outside of the state, or maybe knowing investors outside of the state versus investing in New Jersey. Are there actually less real estate investors, on a small basis out there in New Jersey?
The the problem with New Jersey is there's no inexpensive homes. You're
Yeah,
not going to find a home under $300,000, and the taxes are the highest in the nation. So
really.
the real estate taxes, we average $10,000 per property now. The rest of the nation averages $4,000 per property. So it's a little more challenging in New Jersey, but you do have more people, better educated people, higher income people, and no matter where you are in the state, you're close to either Philadelphia or New York City. So
Yeah.
there's opportunity for people to work jobs.
Are there out of state investors investing in New Jersey? Of course, we see a lot
Absolutely,
right here.
absolutely, and a lot of, I would say, not quite first generation people, but maybe 1.5 generation people that are
Yeah.
buying houses all over the place for cash. I have an investor who put 9 of his rental properties on the market with me a month ago. He's harvesting, right? He feels that we're at the top of the market, so he's going to get rid of all of his rental properties that are in the lower income neighborhoods, 9 of them at a time. And the market is going crazy, but it's all people who are these first generation or 1.5 generation people, and they're paying cash or very large down payments for the properties.
Now, I'm seeing a lot of, especially working with investors, a lot of new financing strategies, whether it's, DSCR loans or some of the more creative financing things like from, limited money down or limited credit, assuming loans, this type of thing. I actually love this idea because I think it's creative as long as you don't get yourself into trouble with it, specifically being a real estate agent and you being a broker. There's more risk and exposure. But if it's written with an attorney written documents, I think this is a great opportunity for people. And I think more people, honestly, should look at how they can get into real estate maybe creatively. I'm curious to get your perspective on some of these more creative ways that people are securing property.
So, in all of the 3 cycles that I've been through, in the down markets, I've gotten people to hold mortgages for me. And the building that I have my brokerage in, the seller is holding a mortgage. I bought it 20 years ago and they're holding a mortgage. I have a commercial building in another town in New Jersey. I bought that with the seller holding a mortgage. Paid it off since then, but the seller is holding a mortgage. I had a beachfront property in Virginia Beach on the Outer Banks at Sandbridge, and the seller held a mortgage for me. So in every down market, there's an opportunity to get sellers to hold mortgages. Now, what did you have to do to get them to hold mortgages? You had to get them to trust you, and you had to probably give them a little bit higher interest rate than they could get by putting their money in the bank. It really saves a lot of money to have somebody hold a mortgage for you because you don't have appraisal costs, you don't have application fees, it doesn't really affect your credit right away. And again, one of the things I've done, and it's just my old-fashioned way of doing things. The person who was holding the mortgage on my building where my office is, right? They've been holding that mortgage for 25 years. Every time I write them a check, and it's $947.88 every month, every time I write them that check, I write them a handwritten note. Sometimes I send the pictures of my kids graduating from college. So she's about 85 years old now, 86 years old now, and my payment, my mortgage payment every month that comes to her is the highlight of her month.
Real estate strategies, right? You gotta be creative here. Bruce, we are coming up on time. Where can folks go to get a hold of you or to learn more?
So for my real estate school, it's bestschoolofrealestate.biz, and I do teach pre-education for New Jersey licensing. We're very close to having a Florida school also, so shortly I'll be able to do Florida licensing, and we do continuing education, mentoring, and helping people to build a real estate career.
Bruce, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Let me give my URL. It's bestschoolofrealestate.biz. Bestschoolofrealestate.biz.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me today. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.